So I'm going to cut some of the fat, and we're going to get straight to the word, amen. I've lived long enough to know that who most people think they are not. Many people are not at all what they think they are. Many people are not as cute as they think they are. And on the flip, many people are more attractive than they think they are. I remember girls who thought that a lot of guys wanted them, and they didn't. And I remember some who thought that no one was looking for them, and many were. I remember how many guys thought that they could fight, and they couldn't. I remember how many guys thought that they could get a certain girl's phone number, and they couldn't. I deal with students who think that they are dumb or stupid, and they're not. They're actually pretty smart. And I remember adults who thought that they were great examples for their kids. They weren't. But I also know many adults who feel like they're not doing a good job with their kids, but they are. If you were to ask people who they think they are and what they are good at and what they can offer to God or the world, the answers would probably surprise you. Many people literally spend their entire life trying to figure out who they really are. Because who we think we are and who we really are tend not to always line up. That's why the question, who do you think you are, can be a question and a threat at the same time. Cross someone the wrong way and their response may be, who do you think you are? If you hear that question in a heated situation, that means that someone thinks that the way that you're behaving does not match with who you actually are. If you ever heard that question from a parent or a peer or a friend or even an enemy, for many people it meant that someone was about to get hit. It means that someone believes that you thought you were something that you're not. Side note, in case you didn't know, as a matter of fact, when someone asks you any question that starts with who or what do you think, it's normally a bad situation. That's just in case you didn't know. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you're talking to? What do you think this is? You thought wrong. You might have thought. That's just a side note. If you ever hear that in the sentence, conversation's going in the wrong direction. Just thought I'd let you know that. Look at your neighbor. Say, who do you think you are? See, people treat you the way that they see you. They don't care what you think. And if you try to act differently than how they see you, people don't always react well. If you try to act high class, but you're from the hood, people won't react well. If you try to act like you're from the hood, but you're really from a wealthy or affluent family, people don't react well. If you try to act grown, but you're still too young, people don't react well. And if you try to act like a child, but you're supposed to be grown, people don't react well. If you try to act like a Christian when everyone really knows how you act, people don't react well. And if you're the church worldwide, but you act like you don't even know who Jesus is, people don't react well. If you try to act cute, but you're not, smooth, but you're not, trustworthy, but you're not, reliable, but you're not, smart, but you're not, even dumb, but you're not, to other people, you will not get a good reaction. To live the life, do the things, and make the impact that we were destined for, the trick is lining up who we think we are with who God made us to be, even if people don't always react well. Who do you think you are? I know an explanation is necessary. David shows us how to line up what we think about ourselves with what God made us to be in this text message of 1 Samuel chapter 17. The text shows us three different ways to look at the question, who do you think you are? Quick summary. Eliab, David's older brother, and two other of David's brothers are out about to fight a war. Well, they're not really fighting. They're too scared to fight, but they're out at a war. And David's father sends young David, youngest of 8 brothers, out to the front line to give them food and supplies. And while David's there, he sees Goliath, this about 9'9" giant who's talking a whole bunch of trash to the people of Israel's army. And he starts asking, who is this guy? What do you get if you beat him? What's the rewards? And Eliab, he overhears that David's asking these questions, and ultimately he gets upset, And he starts saying, why are you even here? What happened to all them little sheep that you were watching? You're just here to be conceited and nosy. You just want to be all in the business and watch the fight. And David pretty much responds, look, I don't know why you're mad. I'm just asking questions. Turns and keeps on asking more questions. It gets back to the king, King Saul, that David's been asking questions. And David goes to King Saul. And Saul finds out that David says, you know what? I'll fight him if nobody else wants to fight him. King Saul says, hey, listen, I respect your heart, I'm paraphrasing, I respect your heart and your effort, but hey, you're just a boy, and this giant has been fighting since he was a boy. And David says, I feel you, but listen, while I was watching my father's sheep on several occasions, one time a lion came and one time a bear came and they took one of the lambs out of the flock. And I went after him and I got the sheep back. And not only that, but when the lion or the bear tried to attack me, I grabbed it by its beard and I killed it. And the way that I killed the lion and the bear is the same way I'm going to kill Goliath. And the same God that saved me from the lion and the bear will also save me from Goliath. After that, most of you know the story. David decides that he wants to go fight. He tries to put on some armor. It doesn't fit. He gets his slingshot, goes to a brook, goes to a river, gets 5 smooth stones, but he only needed 1. Runs out to the field, kills Goliath with 1 shot from a slingshot, dead smack into his forehead. David wins the war. So we're going to look at 3 points, and then I'll be out your way. We're going to look at 3 points, the question, the concern, and the answer. Point 1, the question. And these points are a little abstract, so stay with me. Point 1, the question. Who do you think you are? Can obviously be an aggressive question. I don't remember the exact situation, but I remember as a child being around a group of adults who were having a conversation. And as I sat there, I was following along, and one of the adults said something that triggered a thought in my mind. And since it was a nice, casual, open conversation, I figured that I would share my thoughts as well. It was then that I heard a phrase that so many children have heard some version of. I was told to stay out of grown folks' business. It bothered me then, I'm not going to lie, it bothered me, but the older I got, the more I understood. I wasn't old enough, knowledgeable enough, or understanding enough to be involved in that conversation. This is how David's oldest brother treats him when he sees him asking questions to other soldiers. But not only is he reprimanding David for asking questions, he's obviously upset about it. Why are you here? What did you do with the few sheep that you take care of? I know how conceited and how wicked your heart really is. Whoa, easy. Are you okay? Do you need a hug? Why are you so upset? Why are you mad? Eliab is asking David the question, who do you think you are? He wants David to stay in his lane. You are the youngest of 8 brothers. You are a shepherd boy. You play the harp for the king every now and then. Who do you think you are asking questions about things that are none of your business? But here's the funny thing. You ready? You ready? Here's the funny thing. Catch this. Eliab is asking all these questions and treating him this way. But Eliab knew that David was anointed to be the next king. A few chapters earlier, a man named Samuel came along looking to figure out who was going to be the next king of Israel. He goes to Eliab first. Eliab looks like a king. He's big. He's strong. I don't want him. Who else you got? Starts running through Abinadab. All these other brothers. I don't want him. I don't want him. He goes to the dad. You don't have any other sons? God told me the son was over here somewhere. They go, well, we got the youngest. He's out there with the sheep. We could bring him in. And they bring David in, who came in from the sheep. And he goes, that's the next king. So what's so interesting about this is Eliab is literally getting an attitude with David. Why are you even here? Knowing that he's supposed to be the next king. So let me stop here and say this. Sometimes the same people who are trying to check you are the same ones who know exactly what you can be. Sometimes the same people who know what you can be are trying their hardest to make sure that you don't become that. And sometimes the same people who don't want you to become that are just taking out their anger that you're going to be that anyway. There are people out there that hate you for what you will be. They know exactly who you think you are, and they are worried about it. There was a comment, I can't remember who made it, but I remember hearing that a tyrant's worst fear are the people that he oppresses. because he's always worried about the day that they decide to come together and revolt against him. History has shown us time and time again, as much control as you think you have, if these people decide to come together, there's nothing you're going to do about it. So they would try their hardest to keep them disjointed and broken so that they would never actually come together. Like I said, when Saul came to appoint the next king, he passed everybody. And he found that one little handsome David taking care of the sheep. And he was picked by God to be the next king. Eliab knew how important David was. But look at David's response to Eliab's anger. He says, "What did I do? I can't even speak." That's ultimately what he says. For those of you that had a translation you can't grab, he really says, what did I even do? I can't just ask questions. I can't just talk to somebody. And then he goes on asking more questions. Listen, when people hit you and when life hits you with the question trying to make you feel less than, who do you think you are? Do what David did. Don't let it faze you, because you already know that God has chosen you to do great things. You don't have to be cocky, but be confident that God has called you to do something. There are enough dysfunctional churches, enough dysfunctional ministries, dysfunctional people, dysfunctional kids from your neighborhood, dysfunctional students in your school, dysfunctional people in your family, that people will make you feel like you don't have the right to live as the great person, the great family, or believer that you are. But like David, we need to know that God expects greatness from us. And we need to keep on pushing despite who asks the question, who do you think you are? The first point was the question. When you hear it, just keep on pushing to be what God has called you to be. The second point is the concern. I know an explanation is still necessary. Eventually, word gets back to King Saul that young David, who plays the harp for him every now and then, who King Crazy Saul threw a spear at one day, is asking questions about what do you get if you kill Goliath. Saul sends for David, and David says, "I think I can take him. King, if you give me a chance, I think I can take him." Saul says, "You can't fight him. You're too young. He's been fighting since his youth." Saul is asking, who do you think you are, out of concern? When I was in high school, my freshman year, I was on the bus, and, all the seniors and juniors take the bus, so there was like a ranking system on the city. Anybody who's grown up in New York and you take a city bus to school, there's always a ranking system for the crowd going to school. Seniors get their best seats. Nobody really wants to get in all of that. So I was sitting kind of right on the cusp of the back of the bus and the front of the bus, because I kind of wanted to still be cool with them, but I wasn't stupid enough to go all the way in the back. But I wasn't going to sit in the front. So I'm on the bus, and there's a girl who lived 2 houses down from me, who was also a senior in high school. And she went to another school, but we took the same bus route. And my freshman year, I'm a little kid, nobody knows. She's getting off the bus. I didn't even know she was on the bus. And she sees me, and she goes, "Hey." And she comes over, she gives me a kiss on the cheek and gives me a hug. She was one of my best friend's older sisters, and she goes ahead and get off the bus. And all the seniors in the back go, "Yo!" Yeah. "Yo, you know her?" Yeah, I know her. "Yo, so you think tomorrow you could, like, introduce me to her, hook us up, so you could get a number, whatever?" And I thought about it, and I was just going, I knew her. I knew them. Nah, I don't think it's going to really work out, bro. I mean, I'm just being honest. I know you want, I don't think it's going to work. I was concerned, literally, about their embarrassment. Saul is saying to David, "I see what you want to do, but I don't think you can do it. Who do you think you are that you can kill a giant?" These aren't the words of a hater like they were of his brother. These are the words of someone who's looking at the situation. They're looking at the facts and the stats. They're looking at what has happened and what they can predict from what has happened. These are the words of someone that doesn't want David to go out and get killed unnecessarily. But young people, adults, the beautiful thing about dealing with God is that what you see is not always what you get. You should take into account people's concern. Sometimes you may choose not to do certain things, But sometimes you may need to push on with what God has put in your heart. Now, let me be clear. I'm not telling anybody to disobey parents or instructions or laws or be foolish. I am saying that if you know that God has chosen you to be great and to do work for him, then people's concerns should not make you think otherwise. This is when your faith has to be put to work. When someone asks you, who do you think you are, out of concern, don't let that concern or that doubt affect how you think about how God made you. What are your gifts? What are you supposed to be doing for God? What's on your heart? And if you don't know those answers, that's fine. There's still something in you that pushes you in certain directions, just out of your sheer purpose. What are you called to do? Don't let people talk you out of believing in yourself. Just think about it. Quick test. How many times have we doubted ourselves because somebody doubted us? How many kids have not gone to school, given up on dreams and given up on life because someone thought that they couldn't do something? Where would you be right now if you stuck to what you believed that God called you to be? What are all of the things that we as believers could have done in this world if we didn't let the world's doubt of who we are slow us down? The concern is real, and sometimes the concern is legitimate, but I also know that God can make a way out of no way. When someone throws you the question, keep on doing what you feel God has called you to do. And when someone hits you with the concern, remember that God can still make a way. That was the second point. Number 3, and I'm out your way. Third point, the answer. The answer. After Saul tells David that he doesn't think that he can win the fight against the giant, David decides to regale Saul with a story. He tells him about some situations that he's been in as a shepherd. He says that while watching sheep, and when a lion